Found out about the curfew from Twitter. I called the governor this morning and said we need to have better lines of communication, and he agreed, so he did.
That is Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego reaching out to Governor Ducey this morning. Their first talk reportedly since before the COVID-19 crisis began. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Of course, a lot has changed in the last few months. We're talking about closing down businesses, then opening back up, then a statewide curfew to curtail unrest that spawned from protests here over police brutality.
Yeah, and we talked with Mayor Gallego this morning. A lot of people surprised the mayor of the biggest city in the state, where most of the protests have been playing out, of course, only found out about the governor's emergency curfew on social media. She tells us the two agreed to work more closely together as we collectively try and fight division on our streets and an active, growing, deadly pandemic.
I reached out to the chiefs directly on Sunday.
The governor's tweet announcing a statewide week-long emergency curfew said he was acting at the request of local leaders and in coordination with law enforcement. He now admits he didn't reach out to Arizona mayors directly, but their chiefs of police instead.
He did commit to me that if there should ever be a similar situation in the future, that I would hear about it directly from his office and not from Twitter.
Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego knows these are unprecedented times with tension from an ongoing pandemic and racial and social unrest at a boiling point.
The diversity of people who've been active in this debate makes me very optimistic that we're at a time of real change.
Black Lives Matter!
She's seeing stakeholders from all walks of life come to the table to make Phoenix stronger moving forward. And while there's a vast divide in a push to either get more officers on the streets or defund the department, she says the compromise will come from a willingness to listen.
You can't say everyone has the same reason for going into policing, just as you cannot say that everyone has the same reason for being out and protesting. But we have to hear each other.
She says we also have to be mindful of the ongoing health risks with a specific plea to young adults, the biggest group contracting and spreading COVID, despite almost always personally recovering.
Please think about the people who you love, your grandparents, your parents. And so when you make your decision about whether or not to go out to a nightclub without a mask, know that it is not a decision that just impacts you. You are taking other people's lives into your hands.
And that's another reason she says she would not support any plans to host the upcoming Republican National Convention. There's been talk about bringing it here, and some organizers are still trying to host 50,000 guests, far exceeding the 10 maximum that we're hearing from for safe social distancing when it comes to state and federal health advisors that they're advising at this point.